So, Greg, what are we talking about today?
Okay.
He's like, Darren, I've got a couple ideas for podcast episodes, but I'm not going to tell you because I want it to be fresh.
So I've been dick teasing Darren with this, and
I've got the bluest podcast balls in the industry right now.
Yeah, because it's been a while, obviously. So this idea, it's sort of silly, how simple it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't, but I think it's really cool. It really jazzed me up when I first thought about it. So recently I've decided to move my settings milieu a little bit farther into the future.
Okay.
So it's now I want it to be like Renaissance, right? So there are match locks and wheel locks. You've got the age of sail is just starting to come. So you've got oarsmen and you got sails. You have you got ballistas and cannons. You kind of got this mix,
like golden age of sail.
Yeah, or like right before the golden age of sail.
I gotcha. Yeah, where flintlocks are if one exists, it is.
They're not invented. It's match locks and wheel locks.
Okay.
Adventurers are almost always going to be using wheel locks, which are they're just more expensive and complicated, but more reliable, basically. While a matchlock is you got a little burning.
And for anybody that doesn't know the difference or what a matchlock is, basically, and tell me if I'm wrong, Greg, but you have this little piece of,
you have
a rope.
You have a slow fuse.
A slow fuse. There you go. Yeah. So it kind of like embering.
Yeah, that's an ember, and then you constantly are just adjusting it in the clamp on the gun, the hammer on the gun, just so it will hit your pan, when you pull the trigger, and
so you kind of cock the fuse back, you pull the trigger, it slams down into a pan that's got a little bit of gunpowder in it. The gunpowder ignites, send your shot away. Yeah, so you basically just have a little. You just have a mega shoelace hanging on your gun the whole time.
You got a burning ember all the time.
Yep. And then a wheel lock, that's like a spinning flint and steel kind of thing.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much. Yeah. So you've got a steel wheel that is wound, it's basically on a spiral spring. So, and then you've got a piece of flint that when you pull the trigger, what will happen is a pan will open that the wheel actually basically protrudes through, and then the flint then falls onto the wheel, which will spin 3/4 of a turn or so, which will that will create sparks that will ignite what's in the pan.
So just a really cumbersome way of generating sparks.
Yep.
And I mean, with most early weaponry, that's basically what it was. It's okay, how can I make sparks and keep them contained?
Yeah. How can I bring fire to this?
Yeah.
And I just think they're cool. They feel they're really mechanical and whirly, and they look really neat. While matchlocks is medieval, really they just feel really, and I definitely want the I want with the matchlocks, this is a lot more you get a lot less protests from player characters when you're it's raining, your match is out, you can't, right? Because they're gunpowder, early gunpowder is really mired by humidity and dampness, and actually a lot of ranged weaponry as bowstrings are as well, but it's sort of hard to you want to gamify it in some way, and it's kind of hard to do the you've just got a higher chance of your gun not working, and that's sort of lame. It's way more interesting if it's just oh, it's wet, or you got thrown into the pool, now nothing's gonna work, right?
A salt spray sprays you, and your match is almost out.
You're that kind of thing. And so I think matchlocks are a lot of fun. And then you can always have master crafted wheel locks that are that are with extra care you can seal against the elements, which so it's I imagine it's you have your your priming pan, and then you seal it with wax around it, and you do all this stuff, so
for a single shot,
and I think that's really cool. And and then in this time period you've got a heavy cavalry with wielding a sword and a brace of pistols. That's dope. I wanted have a time period where you've got like people in full plate and you've got muskets at the same time, and like that to me sounds super rad. I love the idea of like
just like the collision of
I love the idea of like
time
a
periods.
wizard with pistols.
Oh
right?
my gosh.
You know, like
Can you imagine be like, sometimes I'm just out of juice and then I whip one of these bad boys out and everything goes away.
Yeah. And then you also and one thing that I think is really important with this is that we're getting off topic here, but I really, really want to stick to and hammer home that these are early firearms. This isn't Pathfinder and you're playing the gunslinger class. This isn't like, oh yeah, I suddenly have like a flintlock pistol that I can reload in one round. No, you fire once per fight, per gun.
And that's it.
That's the whole
thing.
If we're if we're doing like skirmish rules, basically it's one shot per fight, and maybe if you got bigger groups of people, you can say one person can reload. If they take no other actions, they don't move, they're not disrupted, they're not attacked in 5-ish rounds or so.
I mean, depending on how long you kind of
something like that
around,
something like that. And I think that's way more interesting. Having like, I've got my gun and it does a ton of damage. But I only can fire once. That means that one attack is going to feel a lot cooler and a lot more important. And then you have firearms, and now you can get closer to like well, I want my wheel-lock pistol to shoot a lightning bolt. Like that's like some, I think that's really dope wizard shit right there, right?
That'd be super like it looks like a pistol, but really it's just a conduit for magic blasting.
Yeah, or it's something where like the firing of the gun is still important, but like that moment there, that creates something special that you can do some other cool stuff with.
Oh, okay.
I think, and honestly, like even firearms without adding magic to them are rad. Just like really going in depth with what you could do, like having like fire lances and things like that, where it's just like basically like a bunch of fireworks on the end of a stick, and then you light it, and then you've got like a flamethrower. Like I think that's super cool. That's really thematic. If you want to watch Princess Mononoke, for example, like that's definitely the kind of thing, like very slightly more advanced than that is my vision. Anyway,
so that's the time period.
And because of that, there's just more things that I'm now will kind of fit and like make sense and not feel out of place there. And one day I was thinking, for a really long time, I've thought I wanted to do something with hypnotism. I thought hypnotism's really cool. I wanted that to be somehow in rules, like maybe it's a magic spell that you hypnotize someone or something like that. And then I just had a thought, and I was like, what if the fiction of hypnotism, what people want to believe hypnotism is, was just actually true?
Okay.
And that was just a thing in the setting as well. I think that would be really cool. And then you just roll with it.
Okay.
And you think about like, okay, so this is kind of why I imagine you have a society. So this would be our like debaucherous, declining, imperial state. Has now imported this technology of mesmerism from another, from some other culture, and it doesn't really understand. It doesn't have the full, it is now just in like the last like 30 or 40 years, over that time, it's been incorporating it into its society. And so what, like, think about like if hypnotism was real, and it was like it was not like controversial. It was something where like, yes, it absolutely does happen. We can see it. What do you think would be all the things that people would do with it? And this is, and like all the hypnotism tropes you can think of would be possible in some way.
I mean, like breaking addictions and like forcing like different habits and things. Like forgetting memories, restoring memories. Man, either my imagination isn't very good, or you're about to elaborate.
Imagine this: Court Hypnotist.
Oh boy.
Yeah, like
The
you.
guy who you stare at him and then he draws this truth from you while you're on the
Yeah,
witness
yeah.
stand.
So it's no longer um making an oath. It's you're under hypnosis.
Hmm.
And so there's definitely like a kind of vibe and theme that I want, you know, other cultures to view that like this imperial culture is kind of corrupt and dishonorable. And a perfect example of this would be like, oh well, they don't even, you know,
They don't even have a hypnotist.
oaths don't even matter anymore in their culture. Now they have to hypnotize
Oh,
people
I see.
to actually trust them. And uh now like the next level of like the combating the hypnotism are people that like this is kind of my thought is that being hypnotized is something that it's actually pretty obvious when you have done when it's happened. There are certain
Your eyes
cues.
start getting like spirals.
You start
in
looking
them.
a certain way. You would kind of have this little distant look. There'd be certain like
Yeah, like a
ticks or
1,000
something
yard
like
stare.
that. Yep.
Yep.
And so but also I think hypnotism at times should be very easy to resist, and in certain very rare circumstances is difficult.
Okay, one of those things that you kind of have to like fall and like lean
Right,
into in
right.
order
So
for it
it's
to be effective.
it's
Like there's
expected that
buy-in.
like when you're going into court, you're submitting to be hypnotized because
Yep.
that is how the court proceeding must work. And so and it's really easy for you to just choose not to, theoretically. So the next game up is you acting like you're hypnotized, like you like refusing to be you're in your mind, you're just like, I'm not going to engage in this, which is relatively simple. And then and then you're now pretending to do the things that you would if you're hypnotized, and then you lie, and then you get away with things.
Yep.
Right. I think that would be a pretty neat thing, and I like the idea of you're in bumfuck nowhere, and you're like, okay, there's something really serious should happen, something very controversial, or this is there's a big case here in this manorial court, and now we want you, player character, to go find the court hypnotist from the nearby town, because we need a court hypnotist to bring legitimacy to this trial. And to calm everyone the fuck down, so no one can claim foul play. I think that would be pretty neat. And then you can go a little wilder on this. So like, what if you're like a state agent of some kind, and part of that is submitting to like a constant like kind of background hypnosis sort of thing.
Yeah.
So like, let's say you're in the Secret Service equivalent. Yep. You're not actually an agent, but you're someone with like a top secret clearance equivalent. And part of that is like you're hypnotized effectively, permanently, forever, that you are not going to betray the state. And that's something that's just always
I
in
imagine
there.
like some spies and stuff would be like trained specifically to, I don't know, like be conscious, I guess, while they're being hypnotized, where it's like the things that they aren't supposed to do or whatever, like they could, I don't know, I guess almost do, or they'd be your like perfect liars who know who can submit to like the hypnosis but then break it in an instant.
Yeah, or you could, or they somehow are able to act very normal under it, and so they hypnotize themselves that something that isn't true is true, and then when they have to lie, they're perfect at it. They don't have any, I just think that would be really neat, and like just kind of like running with the like science fiction side of it would be pretty cool. And I also I also like the idea of like hypnotism being being used as a weapon in some way. So that's obviously like, I like the idea of like a character that would come up to you like this would probably be a trope in this society of like a charlatan of some sort that would come up to you and kind of like be like a con man, kind of try to fast talk you. But part of that would be to get your attention on something, right? Like a watch on a watch on a chain, that kind of thing, that we would then somehow like you'd capture them, you surprise them, and like now they're under my hypnosis.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Give me your money, please. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye.
I
Right?
can imagine.
You never met me.
Like that, and you can kind of like expand it out too. I'm thinking like the really cartoony like Zoolander thing. If you have ever seen Zoolander, Mugatu like brainwashes him or whatever, and so you like you have the hero strapped to a chair with his eyes like clamped open. Given some concoction that makes his brain like putty or whatever, and then you hypnosis.
Yeah, absolutely.
The guy hypnotize him.
I want that. I want that stuff.
And like the charlatan would just have like a little like cut, like a very diluted cup of that, or maybe even a stronger one that he could be like, oh yeah, look at the time, and looks at his watch, and like plays with it a little bit just to hypnotize someone on the DL and be like, all right, give me your money and your clothes. And then go scream at the top of your lungs.
Look, it'd be like, look at the luster of this opal that I have here.
Yeah,
isn't it amazing? And then you just shine it in the light, and then you just like talk to them, and like ease them in. You're like, isn't this fantastic? Like, what
so
you should give me this amount of money just for the luxury that like the opportunity I've given you just to gaze upon it. Isn't that sensible? And like, yeah, that really is sensible. Yeah, you should do that. Yeah, you're right. Here's your money. All right. Yeah. Now, like
this reminds me.
Now you don't know who I am. You've never met me before, and you're going to leave.
I don't know who you have a good day, and I've never met you before. I will leave and have a good day.
Yeah. And you're like, thank you, goodbye. Right.
I'm getting like serious, especially if this was enacted on like a like federal governmental or whatever, a governmental level, like a very like there is no war in Ba Sing Se vibe from it. Have you seen Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I haven't seen Avatar: The
Last
Airbender. Oh my
goodness!
But I'm assuming the equivalent is we've always been at war with Oceania.
I don't know that reference.
It's just like you're just gonna like make something that's obviously false, and you're just gonna say it's true.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, I'm remotely familiar. I have the book.
Yeah.
1984, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, where like the entire city of Ba Sing Se, is all the citizens are convinced that there is no war going on, even though there's very obviously a war going on, and anybody who like speaks out, the secret police will gather them and be like, the Earth King has invited you to Lake Laogai. And so the Lake Laogai subreddit's like based on that. And so in the movie, they'll, take characters there and put them in a room and have this like lamp go like swing around them or travel in like a circular pattern around them. And then they have a Dai Li secret police agent on the other side. And they're like, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. And eventually, Jet is the character's name. He's like, there is no war in Ba Sing Se. It's like, good. And then Jet maybe dies and maybe not. It's unclear.
Yeah.
In any case, definite vibes.
I want that to be like the extreme. So what I imagine is that like the this original culture that where this was learned from in some way, kind of through, I'm assuming in sort of like a colonialism sort of way, where they sort of show up, not really understand it, but like, oh, this is some neat thing, and then they kind of take it back.
Some academic goes in, he's like, these are the mechanisms.
But in that culture, like you've reached the theoretical end of all of the ridiculous, bad, dehumanizing things you could do with it. Is what I imagine. Where there are, there's where people aren't really conscious anymore. They're basically just programmed. They've just been programmed to act certain ways.
Wait, culture that they learned it from is doing
yes
that? Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so it's like to the nth degree. So it's something where like a character could like start to research this and learn about the place that it was from, and then kind of like gain that esoteric lore of like, oh shit, this could be really bad, right? And I just think that would be a neat sort of thing. And then you can have someone come from that place, like have like like sort of like an ascended master kind of vibe of someone who's come from it and who has done this forever, and and then comes to some other place, and they they can't really handle this. They don't understand like how powerful his techniques are. And then, he's got a small village that is just, eating out of his hand now or whatever,
Yep.
right? I think that would be pretty neat. It would be a good, it would be a place to get a very powerful NPC from, right? Like a very,
like the man who like whose commands you have to follow. Is that in Watchmen? What is that in? There's like a character in some TV show where it's like he says something.
I know what you're talking about.
Maybe it's like Supergirl or something. I don't know.
No, it's it's a television show.
Yeah, not Heroes.
Not Heroes. No.
I don't know. Someone out there knows.
Well, in Heroes there is someone like that, but I think there's like a more recent one.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was Watchmen.
Nope, not Watchmen.
Nope. Yeah, whatever.
Remember, the only superhero in Watchmen is Dr. Manhattan.
It's true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone else is just a regular person that knows Kung Fu. And then Dr. Manhattan is God.
It is literally God.
Yep. So, I also think that like there should be monsters and locales that like are able to do this. So there's a creature that has like
an Umber Hulk type, where it's like
in a sense
you look upon it and then just something about it.
Yeah, and
puts you into a daze.
I like that. This is not just like, oh, this is a thing in the Umber Hulk stat block that just, oh, this thing can just somehow mesmerize people. Like, no, this is a thing in reality. It's back,
it's got these tentacles that sit down.
But like the hypnotism exists in all these other places, and then here is the hypnotism being used by a monster, right?
Yeah.
Or I like the idea
of like it's just a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Yep. Yeah. It is just a like that's its tool to
kind of evolved into it.
I like the idea of something that has it has its face. Maybe this is a bird, maybe it's like a big lizard or something like that. Maybe it's furry, and then it's got like a very large like sort of mane around its head, or it's spread out, sort of
reminds
like a peacock's
tail, that, or a tropical bird, then, like mating dance.
Yep. And then it's able to shift and change like the colors around this mane. So maybe it's like feathers that flip over from like a white
or catch
to like
the sun a different way.
Yeah, or from like a white to a pink or something like that, and then it just has like this shifting spirally pattern, and then you're just like so it'll show up, scream at you, make you look at it, and then just do like this.
Yeah, and then dazzle you.
Yep.
Reminds me of the, was it beehives or whatever that will, the bees will like conglomerate around and then like kind of shimmer across like the whole thing. That might be kind of an example.
I'm not familiar, but they kind of like dance. They all have like
yeah. So it's basically, they all get onto their hive, and in order to thwart off, I think, wasp predators or whatever kind of predator. Yeah, it's like almost the same look as dropping like a pebble into a pond. Like one bee will like flicker its wings or whatever, and then they'll like in a wave, it'll go around the nest, and it's really cool.
And it's kind of like it sort of creates an optical illusion sort of thing.
Yeah, it's super neat. But yeah, I imagine that'd be super cool to have, and you wouldn't want to put it on like every monster, otherwise it loses its
absolutely
novelty.
Not. And there should definitely be like sounds that do it too. Like I also want this is the thing that I think is like way more sinister and cool. Is having instead locales that will have this effect. So it's like just the wind. There's like a valley. Of lost people where the wind goes just through the peaks just right, and like it has like a hollow ring, and then that people get lost, people start forgetting things, and so it's just an area of unexplainable death.
It's like
and
a Bermuda
misery.
Triangle forest.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a real life not example of like hypnotic breezes, but quaking aspens, like a big quaking aspen forest. Apparently I've never been to one. But there's a very particular way that the wind catches the leaves and makes a very particular sound. And I can imagine, like in that forest, in that valley, whatever, like you probably have these trees that like it just so happens to catch the leaves a different way, and on a particularly windy day, like no matter how good you are at tracking at like survival stuff, like you're gonna get turned around, pal.
Yeah, and
You're gonna lose yourself in there.
I feel like that's like the perfect ghost.
Yeah,
I think that's
and
so spooky.
Can you imagine like the local tales too? It's like, don't go into the forest. Like something in there kidnaps people and turns them crazy. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not a creature.
And you're like
the forest itself.
I'm a fucking wizard, all right? There ain't no magic shit here, okay? Like you know, like I can see the subtle world with my eyes. Like I can absolutely tell there ain't no goddamn magic in here, right? These you know, dirt-eating peasants have no idea what they're talking about. It's some monster or something. All right, let's just go and kill it, guys. Let's get our paycheck. It's fine. Yeah,
it catches him by surprise because you're right. It's not a monster and there's no magic around. You're just getting whistled at in your ears.
And so that's something that I've been thinking about. I think that'd be really cool. And it's sort of like the dreaming where it's not like, well, in this case it's very much like not. It's something that's fantastical and something that's not real, but it's not just capital M magic.
Yeah,
which I think is pretty neat. And
I mean, in this, I feel like the real magic or the real difference between like our reality and then like your world is just that the brains work a different way. Where like this kind of a thing allows or tricks the brain just because of how the brains work.
Yeah, and then I think the thing to really sell it in the setting is that you just have to have people act as if it were real. Like people actually use it like they would use it to solve problems.
Yeah, and the kind of biases against it, or the what's the word I'm looking for, taboos against it, like that kind of thing, where it's like, hey, don't you like if you have a stopwatch, don't let the stopwatch flicker or don't rotate, otherwise like
don't you mess with me.
Someone's gonna think you're hypnotizing them, all right? You just don't do that.
And also one thing that at least I in my setting there's a kind of illusion that is just all about like creating visuals. It's just about you know, like creating false senses. It's just glamour. You know, that's what I call it, and it just creates, you know, perceptions that aren't true. You know, and like imagine
that's the one where you like implant it in someone's brain, right?
Nope. It's like you're creating photons that come from nowhere. You're creating a sound that comes from nowhere. And like imagine using that to do this sort of thing. Like if you have the ability,
you'd be like a master. Like you wouldn't need physical objects on you.
You know, like you just straight up like hit someone with like the most psychedelic shit they've ever seen, right? And then I think then
it's like that YouTube video that you're watching because they're tripping balls on acid.
But
all the time.
But this is to like an early Renaissance person who just has no idea, like has never seen this before.
And to them, it's just black magic. Just like, no, it's normal magic. Normal magic and hypnotism. I can imagine there'd be an interesting dichotomy between like a glamour wizard who uses it to hypnotize people, and then like a charlatan who uses, you know, a spinny dial or a watch or a stone or something, and then, you know, the wizard might think the one guy primitive, but then, you know, if they go into anti-magic field or something.
Right. The charlatan probably has better technique. Like the charlatan probably has better like craft, if that makes sense.
Right. He's like his much narrower use of it is much more refined, whereas the wizard can just conjure the most glamorous images and sounds.
Or, you know, everyone that the wizard, like whenever someone breaks the hypnotism that the wizard uses, they always have like a weird thing. Like it must have been like a dream. Like they saw something so bizarre, you know, and that's like maybe that's a piece of evidence that you can use in a game where it's like everyone that's done something weird has like this very distinct vision of this, you know, very bizarre swirling of colors, right? And, you know, then your player characters are like, all right, that's some weird shit. What's going on here? You know, so I definitely want this to be portrayed as like a trade. Is, you know, what hypnotism is. It's a trade. It's something that is still pretty new, and so there's there's a range of you know, people's reaction to it because of that, but it's generally accepted, and I just like. It was like when I had the idea of like court hypnotist, I was like, oh, that's dope. Or like, someone, it's like the judge is, under hypnotism to uphold the law and to not do all these other things. And that's, this hypnotism thing is like now the facade that the legitimacy of this country's like legal system rests on. So it's like, oh well, we're better than these people because we have court hypnotists. Like now you can't lie in our court, right? And they're like, that's why we're better. And it's like, oh
yeah, it's like, well, the walls are only as good as the ladders used to pass them. One thing that I was thinking of is like, can you imagine like a court hypnotist who used to be like a hypnotic snake oil salesman, where it's like, oh hey, check it out, I've got a cure-all you gotta do is sit with me in this little tent and I'll cure all your things.
Oh yeah.
And then that guy just like 2 years later finds himself in the highest court in the land.
You don't have a headache anymore. And I think that would be something that people would like go to. I definitely it's like, in the list of things you could do, one of those would definitely be like ignore pain, and I think that in the skill system with whatever I would do with this, like meditation would be another like a skill that is, you do hypnotism things, but you only do them to yourself. Yeah.
Where it's like you listening to yourself breathe, or you listening to the trees, but you like internalize it.
Yep. Yeah. And then, but I think I also, I'm a words person, right? I like, meditation, like that's, people have a good, pretty solid idea of what that is. But I really like the idea of like auto hypnotism or self hypnotism, and having that be like a separate thing that you can do with hypnosis. So maybe it's something where maybe I have that skill in there where it's like,
oh my god, you know what this reminds me of?
What?
Wait, fuck, I can't think of the character's name. But he's a JoJo character.
Oh my god.
Oh, he like writes in people's faces and shit. God, give me a second. He's a comic book artist. I'm looking it up right now. Comic book artist JoJo. Rohan is his name. And he goes, Heaven's Door, which is a reference to knock, knocking on heavens.
Because of course. Because that's
in any case, so it's Rohan, and so he'll be like, Heaven's Door! And then he like opens up someone's back or face or whatever, and he's like, you cannot do this. Or it's like, usually what he does is when he's in a fight, he's like, you will not harm the comic book artist.
Yep.
So I can imagine someone weaponizing it and using it like that. So in the event that you use this in your campaign, look up JoJo.
Yeah. No, like it should be sinister.
Absolutely. But that would be like that would be the master, right? Where he just like says a command phrase and then immediately hypnotizes whoever he says it to.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be
sick. It's someone where like someone has slowly over time hypnotized every person in this court through just regular interactions with themselves.
Oh, right. And so they've just got this like very low level hypnotism where you can just
and they all have like the like the sleeper switch sort of stuff where you can like say a word and suddenly they become a different person.
Right.
And, you know
what else this reminds me of? Kingsman. Did you ever see Kingsman?
I saw the first one.
Yeah, where was it Samuel L. Jackson's character plays like some crazy song, and then everyone just goes crazy killing each other.
Yep,
absolutely that. And then the one guy gets a shard of wood through his eye, and for whatever reason comes back in the second one. Make a death meaningful. God damn. Ugh.
I've heard the second one just isn't very good.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not as big of a fan of it.
Yeah. Big sigh.
In any case, so that'd be another one where it's like, you just kind of like low-key manipulate everyone, and then, depending on how sinister you are or chaotic or whatever, you're just like, Google poot or whatever, and then all of a sudden everyone just erupts into like a frenzy, or sex marathon, or like just absolute brawling, like death pit,
or just doing like a would you kindly sort of thing.
Oh yeah, that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, and I would personally,
like Simon Saysing.
yeah, no, yeah, like personally, that moment, like that part of BioShock was like that was like the best part. That was like the best part in video games ever. Was like figuring that out. It was a really powerful reveal for me because like right at that point in the game, I had to like, wait, why am I doing any of this again? Like I was just sort of excited to like play it because it had been a game I'd been hyped about for so long that I was like, oh man, Rapture's cool. I want to look around all this stuff. So I was very like internally motivated like as a player. And then I was like, wait, but why am I doing this as a character? And then I got hit with the would you kindly, and I was like,
for the record, Greg, I've never played BioShock.
It was
so
amazing.
Congrats. I'm not going to say you ruined it for me because I don't know if I'll ever actually play BioShock. But so in that, basically, it sounds like the crux of it is like whoever's asking you, the character, to do stuff is just saying, would you kindly? And you're like hypnotized or whatever by it.
And
that's dope.
Yeah.
As
and
hell.
That would be a great way, like, get like a player in on it, right? Just tell them like, okay, so this happened to you, like last night, you let this guy into your room, because you wanted to like get to know them or whatnot, or this was some important functionary, and well, now you're hypnotized, and now whenever this code is used, you have to somehow justify, like you now believe that this is the right thing to do, and I want you to like retroactively justified in your head and like figure out, go through all these hoops and stuff like that. And then, then later having that revealed to the other players would be sweet. They would be, I think they would really,
then you have to find another hypnotist to undo it.
Yeah. Or I don't like,
I have like an Order 66, like brain chip thing.
There should be I think there should be,
could you have dueling hypnotists that are fighting over the will of a...
I think they'd be fighting each other, like for each other's will, right?
Oh, okay.
That's what I think it would be doing.
I think it'd be fun to have a hypnotist proxy war, but
that would be neat.
Can you imagine where would you kindly and be like Wizard says?
Well, where it's like like you send out your lackey to like some other place, and then he comes back and it's like, fuck, he got to you. Okay, let's see what we can do to...
Right, let's crack you open again.
I honestly think that unhypnotizing people most of the time should be pretty easy. I think most of the time it should be like
smelling salts and you're good.
Smelling salts, or like your head is dunked in ice cold water, or like you get burned or something like that. Like I think it should be, I want it to be relatively easy because I want it to be more about the like insidious, like you never really know kind of aspect. Like like there's at first it's obvious, but then after a point you never really know, and I like that. I like the idea.
Can you imagine like two like audio hypnotists like talking to each other, and they're just like weaving in these like weird sounds and words and phrases like over dinner?
Man, or like you're in a confession booth.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
That's, oh man. And so think about it. Like you're in, like you go into a place like that, and now you actually have a very focused and narrowed like field of experience, right? It's kind of dark in there. You're sitting in one place facing a certain thing. You're intently listening to what someone else has to tell you, and that is the perfect spot. That's the perfect spot. And that's what I want to be more about. Not about like, I think the things that should make hypnotism successful is about attention and distraction and things like that, where it's, because I think that's something that's like so paying attention to things and interest is so hardwired into us that it's really hard for you to be like, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to look at the thing. I'm not going to listen to what someone says. I'm not going to read the text on this thing. It's like you basically have no choice but to read things, right? You have no choice but to hear stop in your head when you read a stop sign.
Yeah.
And I think that would be really powerful. Speaking of which, cursed magic item, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I like to imagine scrolls are kind of something that like when you start to read them, they kind of like
It takes all of your attention and like
like when you
Okay.
start to read them, not just like I want to see what this is, but when you're like I'm going to summon forth the power within this,
yeah.
where it's like you start and you can't stop.
Mhm.
Like now like you're no longer in control of your body.
Yep.
So cursed item, it's a scroll, but it's actually a loop. It's actually just one piece of paper
Oh,
looped onto itself.
holy moly.
And there's kind of like a little like there's like a header, like kind of how like at the start of illuminated manuscripts, like at the start of a page you'd have like a big letter.
Yeah.
So it's kind of obvious like, oh, this is supposed to be the start, right? And then you start reading it and then you just cycle the
This is a
paper and you
song that
just
never
turn it
ends. It
forever
goes on
and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
People
Like
just start-
I think
yeah.
that'd be really cool.
Oh my gosh,
and that's
that'd be hilarious.
and that's the sort of
Can you imagine like springing that on your party wizard and it's like you've now spent 4 consecutive turns reading off this scroll.
Yeah.
But you think that you'll get it this next turn.
So what would be so I think that's like spring it on your party, and then when you hopefully they use it in some, like, let's say you want it to be like a combat thing, something that would be really dramatic. So something where they're like, I'm gonna pull it out, I'm gonna use it, to
the scroll of
solve,
elegant mystery,
just to solve this thing, and then you start reading it, and now you're like, oh shit, wizard's taken out, right? And then you somehow barely scrape through the fight, right? And then now you know what the scroll is.
And then you just slap the wizard back to
exactly. It's like you just have to take it out of his hands, but now you know what the scroll is, and now it's a tool. Now it's like, oh, I'll gift you the scroll of mystery, like as part of our tithe to you, evil wizard. And then you're right. Like,
can you imagine like giving that to a town guard, be like, hey, this is a note from the king,
right?
And then he begins to read it, and just, well, I suppose if you're reading it as a scroll, then a guard wouldn't be able to do it. But same basic thing where like this dude's attention is so incredibly enveloped, and it's like, all right, you guys go by now. You're gonna be fine.
I think that'd be great. I think that'd be a super cool magic item, because it would become a tool of the players, and it like its physicality like informs you what it would be, because like first off, when you describe it, people are gonna be like, okay, that's weird. That's weird that it's just that it's rolled, like that it's rolled on itself, and if you kind of explain how scrolls work, how it's sort of like, it's like your body's taken and you're not entirely present there.
Like you need to establish a few things first
then
for
that
this to
might
be truly effective.
That might hint at the player is that like, oh, this might do something weird. This is a scroll that never ends. I think that'd be really neat.
I think it would also be cool if you did it in a way, like the was it like the one-sided loop or whatever, where you just take like a
Mobius strip?
Yeah, Mobius strip. Yeah, like have that be part of it.
Yeah,
too,
that would be a
like,
good way too. Yeah,
right, because it just keeps going, and you have twice the surface area.
It would be cooler. It would be a lot more like if you're I would probably do it like that, having it be a Mobius strip, because
it adds that, like, extra complexity to the
exactly.
form.
If you have a player that knows what that is, they'll be like, oh, it's that thing. It's that cool thing. Oh,
the
this
scroll
means something.
Of Mobius.
Yeah.
That'd be an okay name, actually.
Yeah, it'd be a little too on the nose though if people
if
get it.
Anybody like knew it.
Yeah. But a different scroll, like Mobius is a good wizard name.
Yeah, it was written by the great wizard Mobius or whatever, but that's not. That's like second level information.
Yeah, like deep lore. Like you're reading the extra. You're reading the wiki on Skyrim or whatnot, and you're like written by Mobius, and you're like, hey, I see what you did there.
Right.
I bet you feel very clever, writer. Like, yeah.
I think it's really funny when, like I see names used from different things. Like there's a shotgun in Destiny 2 called The Last Man Standing, or maybe it's just Last Man Standing. And then in the description it says, "Call me Ozymandias," or whatever. I'm like, classic.
It's sort of funny where when you get references like that, it becomes cooler and less cool.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Where it's like, I get where that came from.
Oh, you're not creative.
But it kind of breaks the
It breaks the immersion. Yeah. Like I started playing a game recently. We're getting really off topic, named Brigador, Up Armored Edition. It's fun. The game actually has really good writing, which is surprising. It doesn't have a story, but it has good writing.
Interesting.
So it's got a little like lots of like text blurbs and things like that.
Okay.
And one of the there's a faction that's like a bunch of like favela dwelling crust punks.
Yeah.
You know, and they're called corvids, and are like, well, like a raven, you know, or a crow, and I'm like, okay, you know, you're clever,
right?
You know,
that's why I mean, you know, a couple of my naming strategies. One, I just start with a sound and see where it leads me. But the other one, I'm like, I'll take a word like corvid, or like we did with like scugs and scavens and you know, whatever. You just take a word that means something and then twist it around a little bit, change a few letters, and it's like, yeah, then it adds that extra layer to it where there's still a little bit of originality, but then it, you don't have to work so hard to like create the name. And when someone figures it out, there's a little bit of payoff.
Yeah,
I guess.
I don't remember what this is from, but I'm pretty sure it's from something. But there's a prison planet called Carceri or something like that.
Oh yeah,
maybe it's from Warhammer 40K. Yeah, and it's like, okay, it's incarceration. Okay, I get it. Right.
Yeah,
like you're clever, but it is still like, you know, it is a good name.
I feel like Carceri. Yeah, I've definitely heard that before too.
I don't know what it's from. I don't remember. It's not Star Wars. Star Wars doesn't have any prison planets in it. I went on Wikipedia, was looking that up, and I was like, damn it. Spoilers that might be involved in something.
Bummer. I don't really care. Not that I don't care, but either A, I won't remember, or B, it will strike me like
far
after
too late.
After it's relevant. Shoot, where was I going with this? I don't know. Naming stuff is interesting.
Yeah. I think
don't be too on the nose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
I think that's all we got for hypnotism.
Yeah. You know? I know. I feel like the cool thing about our discussion with this is that like not only did we think about a lot of ways that we could use this going forward, but we're also able to relate it back to things that already exist in media. Because I think that helps to like recontextualize these things too. And it's like, oh hey, if you have an idea, you know, these are different ways that you can implement it like successfully. You know, if you like all these different things in, you know, video games, TV shows, movies, that kind of thing. So all right, well, thanks for watching. This has been
listening.
Yeah, that one. Listening. You're not watching shit right now. Thanks for watching The Road or whatever. And we appreciate you sticking through the very long pause that we had between you know, releasing episodes. Greg and I haven't gotten a chance to get together in a while.
We're excited to be back.
Yeah, we are. Well, he's excited to be back. I'm indifferent.
Yeah, you're.
I'm just kidding. I'm excited to be back. Really like, I'm just paying $15 a month for nothing right now because I'm too lazy to go to Greg's to record, and also the world's falling apart. But yeah, now we're happy to be back. We hope that you're happy to have us back.
Yeah.
If we're still on your subscribe list, and if we're not, then maybe we'll get back there someday.
Oh yeah. Quick hint. Don't run storylines about pandemics yet. Do like 2 years from now. Then it'll be interesting, or maybe like 10 years, and then it'll be interesting. And it'll be like, oh yeah, I remember how it was like that. Like a year ago. Having like a really interesting storyline about a pandemic and people doing wacky things would have been super neat. It would have been fresh, but now it's kind of like, okay, yeah, well, like I just lived through that. Yeah. So, okay, you know, can we move on, please?
I am currently living through that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Greg wanted to do like a pandemic-y episode, and I was like, Greg, no.
Well,
Greg,
I think a while ago.
Yeah, it was like when this whole thing was like beginning to kind of.
Was it my idea or was it your idea?
No, it was your idea, and then I was like, everything I read is about coronavirus. Can we not? And it's like everyone's like relating like their YouTube channel or whatever, or their podcast episode to coronavirus. And
you're getting emails from every stupid company you've ever given your email to, being like, this is what we're doing. And it's like I don't care.
I know you're doing something.
Yeah,
because you'll continue to email me, but just shut up.
I haven't bought anything from you in like 3 years.
Exactly. Although it was a good reminder of all the things I needed to unsubscribe from.
Yeah. Yep.
Not one of those, of course, being a newsletter sent from this podcast because we don't do newsletters.
Yeah.
You're welcome. The only emails we send out are responses.
Yeah, please send us emails.
It's just so fun.
It is fun.
That's a dopamine hit, I tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, farewell. Until next time. This is Darren. Over there is
Greg. It's a Greg over here.
It's a Greg.
Oh yeah, I don't think we introduced ourselves at all.
Yeah, we didn't.
Whatever.
I mean, do you want to do it?
No.
Do you want to do a post recording?
No.
It's too late.
No.
You know what I realized about matcha? After listening to a podcast episode from Stuff You Should Know? It's the whole fucking leaf.
Yeah.
Like, you just grind that shit up.
Yep. It's
You're like eating the tea.
them buds.
Them buds. Thanks, chlorophyll.